Imagine this. You're sitting in a meeting, and someone begins explaining a topic you know very well. But within seconds, you realize something. They're completely wrong. Yet, they speak with absolute confidence. No hesitation, no doubt, no curiosity about whether they might be mistaken. And everyone else in the room nods along. Meanwhile, you stay quiet, not because you don't understand the subject, but because a thought appears in your mind. What if I'm missing something? So you replay the information in your head. You analyze it. You check the logic again. And by the time you're ready to speak, the conversation has already moved on. If this has ever happened to you, psychology has a fascinating explanation. And strangely enough, the reason you doubt yourself might actually be a sign of higher intelligence. In the late 1990s, psychologists discovered something surprising about human confidence. They found that people with the least knowledge in a subject often believed they understood it the most, and people with the most knowledge were often the ones who questioned themselves. This pattern became known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. The idea is simple but powerful. Sometimes people don't know enough to realize how much they don't know, and because they can't see the gaps in their understanding, their mind fills those gaps with confidence. Think of it like standing in a dark room. If you only shine a small flashlight around you, the space looks tiny. But if someone suddenly turns on a powerful light, you realize the room is enormous. Knowledge works the same way. The more you learn about something, the more complexity you discover, which means the more aware you become of everything you still don't know. And this is where intelligent people often begin to doubt themselves. But that doubt isn't weakness, it's awareness. There is a psychological trait that many intelligent thinkers share. It's called intellectual humility. Intellectual humility means understanding that your knowledge has limits. Instead of assuming you're always right, you remain open to the possibility that you could be wrong. Now, at first, this might sound like insecurity, but it's actually the opposite. It's a form of intellectual honesty. Because when someone becomes deeply knowledgeable about a subject, they begin to see something others often miss: complexity. Real problems rarely have simple answers. And this connects to another psychological concept called cognitive complexity. Cognitive complexity is the ability to examine a situation from multiple perspectives at the same time. Where one person sees a simple explanation, a complex thinker might see 5 possible explanations, 5 possible causes, 5 possible outcomes. Imagine looking at a mountain range. From far away, it looks like one smooth shape. But as you get closer, you start noticing valleys, ridges, cliffs, endless detail. The closer you get to knowledge, the more complicated the landscape becomes. And when you see that complexity clearly, confidence becomes harder to hold. But there is another reason intelligent people question themselves so often, and it has to do with how their minds operate. Some people simply think. Others think about their thinking. Psychologists call this ability metacognition. Metacognition means observing your own mental process. Instead of just forming opinions, you analyze how those opinions formed. You ask questions like, why do I believe this? Could I be biased? What if there is another explanation? This creates a very different experience inside your mind. While others may speak quickly and confidently, a metacognitive thinker pauses. They examine the logic. They replay the reasoning. And this connects to something called cognitive reflection. Cognitive reflection is the ability to question your first instinct before accepting it as truth. Most human thinking is fast, automatic, reactive.
But reflective thinkers slow the process down. They ask, is my first answer actually correct? And that pause can lead to better decisions, but it also introduces doubt. Because when you analyze your thoughts deeply, you begin to see all the ways they could be wrong. And suddenly, certainty becomes much harder to maintain. But the story doesn't end there. Because for many intelligent people, this constant reflection creates another psychological challenge.
So let's step back for a moment. The same mind that doubts itself is often the mind that questions assumptions, analyzes information carefully, considers multiple perspectives, reflects before acting. In other words, the very traits that create self-doubt are often the same traits that create wisdom. Your intellectual humility allows you to recognize complexity. Your metacognition allows you to evaluate your own thinking. Your cognitive reflection helps you avoid impulsive mistakes. Your cognitive complexity allows you to see the full picture. And your internal locus of evaluation pushes you to grow beyond average standards. Yes, this mindset can sometimes feel heavy, but it also creates something incredibly rare: clarity. Because the people who question themselves are often the ones who care most about being right for the right reasons. So if you sometimes feel like you doubt yourself more than others, that doesn't necessarily mean you lack confidence. It may simply mean your mind is seeing layers of reality that others overlook. And sometimes, the quiet thinker in the room is the one who understands the situation most clearly. If you enjoy exploring the psychology behind how the mind works, consider subscribing, because understanding the mind is one of the most powerful forms of self-awareness we can develop.